Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'd like to take a quick look at this thing here. This is the iRangeX iRX-IR8M. It's one of the multi-protocol transmitters. It's one of the latest ones that's out. We looked at its little brother just before the end of last year. That was this thing here, and this is great for those kind of little models where you get this kind of little terrible transmitter with it. Typically the kind of tiny Whoop or similars, a lot of them come with this. Now iRangeX has been making multi-protocol pieces for quite a while, and in fact I did a video a while back where we put one of the 4-in-1 units in the back of the Taranis radio, and that allowed me to use that Taranis radio with lots of smaller models. Now this radio is physically a little bit smaller than a standard radio, so if you're used to a standard size Taranis, QX7, Futaba, Spectrum or whatever, this is going to feel a little small in your hands, but it is much closer to what a real radio will feel like, and I like the idea of people learning to fly with smaller quads like this with this style of radio, because they can translate the muscle memory that they learn flying an indoor model with something like this onto a larger, more expensive radio and a more expensive multi-rotor. But it looks like iRangeX really likes the look of the TBS Tango. You can see how closely they resemble each other. Now for the Tango, that middle screen is actually an FPV monitor, whereas in this one it's the screen that allows you to do all the settings. It doesn't do any FPV stuff, but it's a very different layout, and the sticks are much wider on this one than a traditional radio. So we've got one option where the sticks are thinner than a traditional radio, and now we've got this different form factor. But I suppose if you are ultimately going to get yourself a TBS Tango, this would probably teach you exactly how to hold it. So inside of this, it's the multi-protocol radio, pretty similar to everything we've already looked at. So it's got the different chipsets, so it's compatible with Walkera, FrSky, FlySky, DSM2, DSMX, and many other protocols as well. So you can bind it to pretty much everything. To unbox it, there isn't an awful lot in the box. If you take the top off the box, then there is the radio itself. It comes with one little 8-channel PPM S-Bus mini receiver, and it also comes with a cable or two. Now interestingly, in my box I found there was a spare screw floating around. If I just hold this by the mic, hopefully you can hear that. What that actually is these little controls here. These are the trims, and we'll look at all the controls on it for a second. So I thought something was loose in this. I took mine apart, but it did give me the opportunity to take some images. Of course the antenna on this is now integrated, internal, rather than on the other one we looked at where it was external, where it could potentially get damaged. But I'm happy to say that no problems at all. Nothing was actually loose on this. It's just the buttons here aren't a snug fit. They don't have any foam or anything behind them to stop them rattling around. It does make it feel a little bit cheap and plasticky, but it doesn't stop it working well. So let's actually look at what you get on this. So we have two pretty nice feeling gimbals. While I had the back on mine, I tightened up the throttle spring a little bit. It is adjustable. To get into it, as you saw, there are a number of screws. There's a couple here by the side of where the battery bay is. The battery in this unfortunately is AA's, whereas the other one was rechargeable, so I suppose that's good and bad. You just pull these little grips off, and underneath is the two additional screws each side that you have to take off. In terms of the controls, it's got a couple of extra ones over the radio we looked at last time. So this one has 3 position switches here by the screen. The others are two position switches, which is good. These on the shoulders are an additional 2 position switches, and we have the 2 rotary knobs as well. So it's got an additional 2 switches over this T8SG. The rest of the buttons look really complicated, but I'll show you what they'll do in a second. These are the 2 trims for the throttle and the rudder channel, and these are the trims for this stick here, usually going to be elevator and aileron if you're going to run in mode 2. The other buttons are all about using the menu. At the bottom you have another little cover. Then underneath we have the connection for the USB port, we have the power button, and what looks like a connection for an SD card. But if I show you the inside again, there isn't an SD card holder behind it. There is in the menus down here options for voice commands. I'm guessing the voice stuff would live on the SD card, but because there isn't an SD card socket in here, I guess in this particular version that isn't yet implemented. To power it on, you flick the power switch. Make sure that the throttle is to the lowest level, and there we are, we're fired up. And it's standard menu system for these kind of 4-in-1 radios, exactly the same as what we've already looked at. So to enter the menu, you use this button here. To exit or go up a level, you press this button here, and then these buttons along the side are to navigate up and down and then to change the values. So let me just show you how that works. So if I go into the menu, we have the model menu itself. Then we can go up and down using these two buttons. So we've got the model setup. If I click on there, we've got the different models that we can pick from. So the different options we have in here, we do have options for helicopters, planes, and multi-rotors as well. Standard deviation stuff. We go down again. The transmitter power is selectable. Just be careful with this. The transmitter power can go way above what will be the legal limit. It's 100 milliwatts here in the UK. I think it's a little bit higher in America. By default it came to 100 milliwatts. But again, if you press enter, you can actually change this number. And these usually are the two buttons here down the bottom that you can change it to. So it'll go up to 150 milliwatts and it will go down to very little at all, 3 milliwatts. So I'm going to leave that on 100, so that's where my legal stuff is. And then you've got other settings as well. And then down here at the very bottom, you have all of the options for the different protocols that you might want to use to bind up to the model. So very simple stuff. If we just exit out of this, then we've got access to the mixers, timers, telemetry config, trims, and other pieces too. Now the voice config on this is the one that says it's not currently available. The transmitter menu is an interesting one. Now the other thing about this, when this arrived, it was set to Chinese. Initially tried to use the Google Translate app on my tablet and eventually just gave up, and then figured out using the menu on my other radio what I had to do. So if you get one and you find that you are looking at a Chinese character set, then the way to fix it, press the menu button, go down to the second item on the first menu, hit enter, select the first item in the next menu, press enter again, and then you've got language, and then if you press enter one more time, then you can actually pick the one that you want. That's how I got out of it, and that's how I got this one working so I could test it. So I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in having a look at this. I do like the fact that people are starting to make radios in different form factors. I know a lot of people who like the TBS Tango layouts but haven't got TBS Tango money. If you are looking for a cheap and cheerful radio that will not only connect to these smaller models and allow you to fly them around and give you a much more realistic feel to what a full-size radio is going to feel like, or if you're looking for a cheap and cheerful radio, maybe you want to pass on one of the models to another family member to learn to fly, and you're looking for something that they will enjoy using, then this is definitely going to be worth a look. Last thing I'll do, let me just show you what the version of software on here is. If I go down, so this is deviationtx.com, and the version is v5.xx, dated 2017-09-17. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully that's been interesting for those of you that like these multi-protocol radios. It looks like we're getting a lot of choice here now, not only with traditional radios with JR bays, but also with cheap and cheerful models, which will allow pilots to either get into the hobby a lot cheaper, or for those of us that have been in hobby for a long time, actually fly these little models with something that feels a lot more natural. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here. All the videos created here are put into playlists. So if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless 360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.